Louis Pasteur was a revolutionary microbiologist and experimenter. He followed the work of Redi, who proved by covering meat with cheesecloth that maggots did not spontaneously appear on spoiling meat. However, proponents of spontaneous generation still held fast that microbial life could indeed arise spontaneously. The next scientist to attempt to dispel spontaneous generation was Lazzaro Spallanzani. Spallanzani heated broth and prevented microbial growth. Unfortunately, his method of creating flasks needed the absence of air in the final product to prevent the flask from exploding during heating. Critics believe that this lack of air and life force was the reason no microbial life existed in the flasks. Finally, Louis Pasteur put the notion of spontaneous generation to rest once and for all. Pasteur had already discovered that microbes cause the spoiling of beer and wine, in addition to discovering that the disease devastating the silkworm industry was caused by a bacterium. Today, milk is heated up to kill off the species of bacteria and make milk safe to drink. This process is known as pasteurization. This process is utilized to treat many types of food and make them safe to eat after long periods of time. Without this important step forward in the methods of fighting disease and keeping food safe, people would not be able to eat safely like they are today. The first part in this experiment was creating the 3 flasks that would hold the beef broth. We created these flasks out of Tupperware containers which were airtight. We then punched a hole through the top and inserted a straw. The next step in the experiment was to boil the beef broth and then to ladle it into the containers where they would be sealed and left to grow for 2 days. After we had let them sit for 2 days, we observed the results. The first container we observed was the control group that was sealed. Notice how the broth is clear and there has been no growth of bacteria. The second container we observed was the experimental container with the curved stem. This one had slight bacterial growth, which is the dark area. The third container we looked at was the positive control with the stem that was open to the air. Notice the large amount of dark bacterial growth. Our results did not come out how we'd anticipated they would. There could be several reasons for this. One possible reason is that we accidentally contaminated the broth in the transfer before we put on the lid to the container. Another reason is that we failed to clean the containers and sterilize them before we put the broth in. Our results were not indicative of what Pasteur discovered doing his experiment.